welcome to the Pollock Pod, but in a little different format, I guess. We're doing it a little bit more video this time, and luckily, Chef Morgan sitting down to talk with us.
Thank you.
Maybe, do you think you can give a little bit of an introduction on who you are, what you do?
Sure thing. Man, that's a lot of stuff. My name is Morgan Gabriel. I'm the executive chef here at Trident Seafoods. I work within the R&D department. We're here today at R&D. I've got a bunch of food scientists that I work with every day. We work together kind of developing a lot of these products that are for food service, national accounts, and retail. A big part of what my job is going out kind of into the world and showing people how to use them, whether that's the specific customers themselves, different distribution channels, or just kind of whoever might need help at the moment. So I personally have a bit of background in the restaurant industry. I worked in Denver and Seattle for a long time, and all kinds of restaurants from fine dining all the way down to a little bit more casual family stuff. But yeah, I think I bring a lot of that to Trident and be able to show people, new ways to use Wild Alaska Pollock, which is our number one goal. That's
what we want to do.
Yeah.
So what city do you like more? Denver, Seattle?
I love it here.
Not biased.
No. Both are great. I actually spent a lot of time here as a teen, as a kid, and then kind of came back. So yeah, there's a reason. I love the Pacific Northwest. I'm a huge fan of seafood. I love being by the water. I live in Edmonds, Washington. So I'm a frequenter of the beaches there and kind of spend a lot of time looking at waves. So yeah, it's a good place to be.
Pretty cool. Yeah. I grew up in Central Washington, and there's like a sushi place there. And I don't think I would ever order the fish.
Well,
you never know. But I much
well,
prefer
it's all about turnover. If you got a lot of people through the door, they're circulating the fish.
I don't know.
Maybe not this one.
Yeah, maybe not this way. Also, I guess while we're talking about the restaurant industry and you're kind of rolling it, how did that start out? Like, what was your journey from there to kind of where you're at now?
So I have a degree in restaurant and resort management. I'm a hospitality major. I went to Colorado State University. Fort Collins is a wonderful place to be. It was one of the greatest towns that I lived in for 5 years. I still like going back there to visit. It's a pretty cool place. I graduated with the expectation that I wanted to kind of be a chef owner of a restaurant, and then kind of got out there and did that for around 12 years, maybe closer to 15, when all's said and done. But yeah, it was just kind of it's a tough place to be, working night times and weekends, and a lot of it actually had to do with became a father, and I wanted to spend that time with my kids. And I know a lot of chef dads that are still able to do it very well, but man, it takes a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it takes a lot to be a chef dad.
It does.
Okay.
Especially working. The night times and weekends and holidays are the hardest parts.
Yeah.
I definitely wanted to find kind of a different role for myself.
For sure.
And then finding a kind of not fell into this, but finding my way to Trident Seafoods, kind of accomplished that task. I'm still able to be creative with food. I still have that kind of fun. I still enjoy what I do, and I'm glad that I still get to kind of cook for a living, even though it's a little bit different than working in restaurants. But then again, this job kind of gives me the freedom to have a life outside the kitchen, which is hard to come by.
That's true.
Yeah.
So what do you do then, kind of with the Trident team?
So my day to day is I spend a lot of time with food scientists here, talking kind of about product development. Guiding flavor, talking about trends and those kinds of things, and then spending a lot of time working really closely with our national accounts and food service teams to kind of develop more targeted targeted things towards certain customers. So what we'll do when it kind of comes to product development stuff like that, it can happen a couple ways. A customer might come to us and say, "Hey, I want some Wild Alaska Pollock with, I want it to be this size, I want it to cook in this amount of time, and I want this kind of coating on it. I want it to be for a sandwich, and I want it to, retail for this amount of money." We try to hit that as best as we possibly can. A lot of times people come to us and just be like, "We want a new fish item. What do you think it can be?" So that's when it gets kind of fun. We end up developing these really long list with lots of great items, in conjunction with our marketing team. They certainly get to weigh in, and we kind of bounce ideas off of each other. But at the end of the day, we ended up kind of like developing these 20 item or so concept lists. Marketing will take that down to about 15 or so, and then the customer will bring that down to maybe about 10 or maybe 12.
Yeah.
We'll work with food science and kind of develop those items. I'll create builds and sauces to go with those items, and then I'll travel kind of to the account and put on a show. Maybe I'll bring one of the food scientists with me, but then we'll do like a 90-minute session or so with like 13 different items, complete with marketing information. It's a whole concerted effort. So yeah, it helps to have a person in a chef coat kind of talk to another person in a chef coat.
Yeah.
Especially when you kind of get to that level. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I know when we were in Boston, y'all were doing the Crack and Stash IPAs right next to us.
Time.
I'm a big fan of those.
Cool.
And also, what were the jalapeno extremers?
We were running. Yeah, we did a couple things out of the booth. We did the extremers there as well. We did our. We just did a basic 1 ounce Wild Alaska Pollock with a batter on it, kind of like a pub house style thing. And I think later in the week we ended up running a couple of our salmon items. So we ran a smoked salmon breakfast patty and that kind of thing. So yeah, we did a bunch of things. The Kraken one was pretty interesting too. We worked really closely with the stadium to kind of replicate what they serve there and put it in a retail box. And that's the magic of food science, really, is that what kind of we were able to go there and eat, and with my little chefy notes, they were able to pull off an actual food service item, or sorry, a retail item that replicated this food service thing, just by kind of us tasting it together and talking back and forth,
just going through it.
Include my observations and they include their observations, and a lot of times they're not different from each other, but we notice different things about the products.
For sure.
Between food scientist, product developer, and a culinary product developer. It's kind of different points, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you won awards for it. So.
It was pretty good. It's a great product. We're all pretty proud of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe if you can just go through kind of the approach that y'all take when it comes to, like you said, you have these lists that you give, the marketing team and these different the people that you're working with. And then they kind of bring that down. But how do you get those initial 15?
So a lot of those are developed from what we kind of see out there in the wild,
like those trends, like you were saying.
Trends. We do a lot of, do a lot of trend research. We try to go to as many, food shows as we can and see things. I try to communicate with as many kind of chefs as I can. Again, I mentioned that I'm a dad now, so I don't get to go to as many restaurants as I want to.
Yeah.
But when I'm traveling, especially for Trident, we make a point to kind of go to some funkier places to kind of see what's out on the menu, to see what people are kind of doing.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of
field research.
It's a lot of field research. Yeah. You're right. I wish we could do a bit more. There's a ton of great places here in Seattle that I like to go and see new things. As far as fish goes, there's a lot of great flavors out there, especially in our area.
For sure.
With there's just tons of Asian influence, and that's very popular right now. And we have all kinds of stuff. So when I go to different regions, I like to kind of focus on what they're doing. Yeah. When I go to the South, I always gain 5 pounds. When I go to
that makes sense.
Yeah, when I go to California, I always pick up a few new tips on tacos and things like that. Yeah. So yeah, you get it from all over.
Yeah.
Right. As far as flavor, trends that we can put into a fish application, it's always just kind of. We have a good idea, and then we take it in the lab. We work with our suppliers to kind of help us get there. But it's a big concerted effort.
For sure.
It's not just me. It's the whole team.
It's the whole team. Yeah,
for sure.
Do you think you can give us 3 trends that you're seeing?
Man, the biggest trend is that I'm seeing right now is spicy, sweet and spicy.
Okay.
From a condiment standpoint, so we're seeing a lot of sort of like
a hot honey kind of.
Hot honey is a terrific example. Like chili sauce, things like sweet chili sauce. Yeah. I just did something for a customer that was kind of like a Jamaican jerk sauce that was sort of a sweet glaze. They kind of played that up because they asked that a lot of their sort of development was sort of in that Caribbean kind of vein. So I kind of took that and went, okay. A few things from Jamaica, a few things from the other islands down there, Cuba, the DR, and stuff like. Spicy is a huge thing. We see that in that kind of the sweet and sticky. Another huge trend, of course, for us is crunchy and crispy. Everything's got to have that crunch to it.
Yeah.
Especially with the Kraken product, we were able to kind of find a way to get just a little bit of texture in the batter to kind of provide that to sort of mimic what they're doing in the back of the house at the stadium or what they'd be doing kind of in restaurants, right? I guess a huge trend also, of course, is the sustainability aspect too. It's not just about kind of what you're eating; it's feeling good about what you're eating, and then being able to kind of make a greater connection to kind of to like the ethos of it all, to like feeling like you're part of the sustainability movement. And fortunately, you get to do that with Wild Alaska Pollock. So it's an easy trend to hit too.
Yeah, it's like a good for you, tastes good for the planet.
And people are eating a lot of the vegetable proteins out there, kind of thinking that it falls into that halo when in fact it takes a lot of energy to take a pea out of a field, take the protein out of that pea, and then turn that protein into a cheeseburger when it takes a lot less to take a fish out of the ocean and then turn it into, let's say, a fish stick, right? So that's kind of just by nature of who we are and what we do. Sustainability is just kind of part of it.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have had the opportunity to try food from y'all. I remember when I was just starting out in this role, I came over with Ron Rognus, and we did a little taste test. And I told him in the last podcast that, coming into it, I was like, I don't know if I want to eat fish at like 9 a.m. I don't know if a fish breakfast really is something that I'm going for. It turned into one of probably my favorite days on the job.
Perfect. That's awesome. That is, we do get that a lot. We actually just hired two new food scientists, and it's funny. I'm used to coming to work, and the first thing that I do is eating a piece of beer battered pollock, right? That's it's nowhere. It's not
normal.
It's not weird to me. Yeah. But just kind of seeing the looks on, not the looks on their faces, but kind of understanding where they're coming from. Yeah. It's like, okay, welcome to work. Here's our big tray of fish that we got to eat, and they're like still kind of sipping on coffee. So it's definitely it's something to get used to. But we all often have meetings at 9:30. Here we're tasting pollock burgers. Here we're tasting fried fish. Here we're tasting this. So it's definitely something you get used to.
Speaking of trying things, I guess kind of a middle of the road segue there. We're gonna be doing some stuff in the kitchen.
Yeah, we got a couple demos lined up.
Okay, what are you thinking?
So we're showing. So one of our flagship products, of course, is a salmon burger. We have a pollock version of that as well. So we'll show you the pollock version of that today. It's a pressed pollock patty made out of course, Wild Alaska Pollock block. We chop it up and form it in our production facility. And it's a really cool freezer to pan kind of thing. It's just a couple minutes per side. It comes out eating pretty nice. I've got a good sauce to go on that, and kind of like a little bit of it's like not really a salsa. It's like the inside of a crab cake, like the veggies you put on a crab cake to kind of go on top. Pretty tasty. Another thing I'll show you is just kind of a real simple taco build with our Wild Alaska Pollock ready cuts. That we take a whole pollock block and we cut it up into like little diamonds, basically. Those are going to go right into a saute pan with some green chilies, and I've got roasted corn salsa to kind of put on top there to bring it together. And the third thing I'd like to show actually is a Rangoon pizza. So one of the things that I do is we do a lot of work within Surimi Seafood. One of the most accessible ways, or most acceptable ways, I should say, is California roll. Yeah. We're never going to sell enough California rolls to support the Surimi industry. We got to figure out other ways to do it. So crab Rangoon is a huge one. So basically we're doing a flatbread with just a little bit of Rangoon filling on the bottom, some crab, some sweet chili sauce. We've got some green onions and a little bit of garnish to go with it. So it should be pretty cool to look at.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Awesome.
All right, well.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it.
First, starting off here, this is going to be our Rangoon flatbread. So I've taken some of our Surimi seafood shred, mixed it with a little bit of cream cheese and sour cream, as well as soy sauce, sesame oil, and some green onion. It's getting a little bit, pushing it out to the edges. Still want to get a little bit to handle on the outside. A fair amount. People really like Rangoon filling.
I'm a big fan.
If it's crispy or not crispy, people still like it. Yeah. Right? And we'll go ahead and put just a little bit of our diced sea legs on top here. This is a product that we have that's made to look like a snow crab leg, so it's kind of got some action, a little bit of shred.
Is it the Lewis Kemp one?
It is. It's our LK
Okay. Y'all have slang for it too.
Yeah, right? Lingo. There. Just a little bit of light mozzarella. You don't want too much cheese because you've already got a ton of dairy in there with the sour cream and the cream cheese.
Yeah, I'm lactose intolerant, so for me that's not.
Oh, maybe just the crust. And then I put on a little bit of our sweet chili sauce. This is before when I was talking about spicy. Sweet and spicy adds a whole new kind of layer to whatever you're doing. There, it works as a post-cook glaze, but I also like the way that it kind of cooks to it. Lets off some of the bite and kind of caramelizes a little bit on there. I'm going to put a little bit of green onion on there just for now. I'll probably put a little bit more on for some fresh. I like the way it kind of cooks up a little bit and looks real nice.
Mm-hmm. Is there any ingredient that you kind of go to usually when it comes to like trying some stuff out? Something that you know works?
So one of the things that I'll always work on seafood in the burger build, we do an Old Bay. Old Bay is one of the classic things. I feel like no matter where you go in the country, people know what Old Bay is, even if they're not from the Northeast. If they don't even know what a soft-shelled crab is, they've probably tried Old Bay before.
Oh yeah.
Smoked paprika is one of those things too. That is always pretty great on seafood. I use a lot of stone ground mustards and things like that. Things that add kind of body and character in a sauce. Give a little bit of crunch here and there. Cabbage. A huge proponent of cabbage. Love cabbage, both in slaw, cooked cabbage, raw cabbage. You name it. Even had cabbage juice every once in a while. It's an acquired taste, but hey.
Cabbage Patch guy.
Cabbage Patch guy, totally. I'm going to go slide this in the oven, and then we'll work on the next build. We'll do that. Do the taco. So I'm going to get my broiler lit here, and we're going to be using Wild Alaska Pollock ready cuts, which are cut from, of course, Wild Alaska Pollock block.
Mm-hmm. Do y'all do a lot of work with block usually?
Oh man, it's like, yeah, pretty much. We between pre-cuts and block, I'd say it's more focused on block. I mean, it's one of our raw materials that we use pretty much every single year. We have a new set of things for us to focus on as a company as far as what to sell. Wild Alaska Pollock block is always on the list.
Yeah.
It's never off the list. We have a lot of cool technologies that get it into the shape and form that we want it to, whether that's cutting it into these tiny things, pressing it into a natural looking fillet, or chopping it and putting it into like kind of a ball format, whether it's or a burger or a bite or something like that. But it's definitely one of the things that we focus on all of the time.
Yeah.
Is Wild Alaska Pollock block.
Wild Alaska Pollock.
All right.
So we do tacos.
A little bit of tacos here. So we've got, I can bring the pan over.
Very good.
So we've got some Wild Alaska Pollock block ready cuts right here, going straight into the pan. And get a little more heat on those. And in the pan, I also have some chopped hatch green chilies and sliced scallions. And they go in and just give a little bit of flavor. And then put a lid on it to capture some of the steam that it's actually going to give off. We'll take advantage of some of that liquid that comes off of the Wild Alaska Pollock block in order to steam the inside. And we're going to use our store-bought street taco tortillas here. Okay, 2 of them.
Sometimes you don't need to reinvent the wheel, you know.
No, honestly, I've gone through the trouble of making my own tacos before, or tortillas before. They're great, but if you don't have the time, it's a little bit like making your own ketchup. Yeah. It's a really long, exhausted process, and 9 times out of 10, the stuff in the store is gonna be better than I can make it in the time that I have. So, at any rate, that's what we got going back here. This will be just a little bit longer to cook here. We basically have our green chilies, our scallions, and our Wild Alaska Pollock kind of simmering away. And while our tortillas brown, lift those right out. Plates down right there.
How do you feel about plating your dishes? Is this something you put a big priority on when you're doing like demos and stuff?
Plating is interesting because a lot of times it's like you have customers that really like it, and then you have some customers that are just like, just show me what the food is. Yeah. I like to make my plates look nice, but there's a certain point where you're kind of overdoing it to where it gets almost too fussy and almost too complicated. Things can look good without looking
too good,
overdone. Yeah. Right? Plating is I definitely have a lot of respect for people that put a lot of effort into plates and stuff like that. For me, it's like, how do you want to spend your time in the kitchen? If you want to make real fancy plates, that's great. And for sometimes it really calls for that, but a lot of times you can definitely make very consistent, very tasty flavors and make the plates kind of look a little bit more, not basic, but kind of more accessible.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Cool. Oh, I forgot a spoon. Let me go get a spoon. Sorry.
Go for it.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna get you guys on here. We've got our cooked Wild Alaska Pollock and green chili scallion mix in the pan, ready to go. And I've got just a little bit of roasted corn salsa with some shredded cabbage. I'm gonna put some down just for a bed like that. Spoon on our mixture. And what's nice about these is these little squares of Wild Alaska Pollock really only take a couple minutes to cook. You still get some pretty nice sear on a few of the pieces here. You can cook these from frozen, or you can kind of cook them from thawed. Either way, it provides a pretty consistent product. I use these in soups and stews and chipinos and things like that. Great for tacos and stir fries. I've got a little bit of green chili and poblano crema going on top there. And there's some completed fish tacos. There. Let me go grab that pizza. All right. And so here we have our Rangoon flatbread or Rangoon pizza. Again, using Wild Alaska Pollock surimi. One of the, again, as I said, one of the only ways that people know what surimi seafood is through California roll. A lot of people don't realize that that's what's in their Rangoon too, a lot of the time. So this is a pretty great way to sort of not catch people off guard, but to expose them into something that they've already tried probably a couple times before and don't know it. So this is a really innovative kind of build, full of sweet and spicy, full of savory, plenty of dairy. And then on top, I'll put a little bit of crunchy. So these are a little bit of wonton strips that I put some Szechuan chili oil over and a little bit of seaweed seasoning, so you get some kind of crunch that you would otherwise with your Rangoon. Put that on a plate. And through the magic of chefing, there you go.
There it is.
Wonderful. Green onions stay nice and bright. Basically, since all of our surimi seafood items are ready to eat right out of the package, this one's just simply putting on a pre-cooked flatbread, some ready-to-eat sour cream and cream cheese, green onions, and we'll pretty much just have to heat it up to your liking. It's a pretty simple execution of a great concept, I think. So next thing up is going to be our Wild Alaska Pollock burger. This is something that we also make through Wild Alaska Pollock block. We chop it and form it into a patty, a burger patty like this. We can cook them on the grill. We can cook them in the oven. We can pan fry them, which is what I'm going to be doing here. It's about 3 to 4 minutes per side. So I'll put 2 down. We'll build the build, and then we'll come back to these guys. They should be ready to go once we're ready to go.
What's your favorite way to make a Pollock burger? You have...
This is actually one of them. We way back, not way back in the day, but a while ago, we actually had a food truck called Fork and Fin that I helped write the menu for. The build on that one was pretty stellar. It was kind of like a barbecue pulled pork kind of build. So it had a barbecue coleslaw, it had bacon, it had dill pickles, it had like smoky chipotle aioli. And honestly, the whole thing together tasted like a barbecue pulled pork sandwich, and you felt good because you were eating Wild Alaska Pollock. And that also kind of brings me to like why I like Pollock so much, is because it is that kind of has that versatility to where you can put pretty much any flavor on it, and it works well. You have a lot of proteins out there that have their own kind of a lot of flavor, especially in the fish world. You find that with salmon. It's still quite versatile, but again, people know the flavor of salmon when they eat it. When you have someone taste Wild Alaska Pollock for the first time, oftentimes they're very impressed about how clean it is, how sort of not fishy it is. If that's a good term to use. I really don't like saying not fishy, but because it's a fish. But it's the most approachable way to get people into seafood. For sure. That's why I really like working with the product. So as those guys are cooking back there, the topping is going to be this mix right here. So this is something that you might include in a crab cake. This is some sweet onion, some celery, and some pepper. Sorry, sweet pepper.
Sweet.
We'll be putting a little bit of Old Bay seasoning, some chopped fresh dill. Let's just use all the Old Bay. Yeah.
Might as well. We already talked about it.
Squeeze a lemon, and just a little bit of extra virgin olive oil to give it some action. Use this kind of large fork to stir them around. So this is going to go on top of the burger. It's sort of just a little extra crunch factor, because people are kind of always looking for that nice, pleasing crunch. Sometimes it comes from a good pickle. Sometimes it comes from crunchy lettuce. We're putting some lettuce on this too, but this is just kind of an added little bonus.
You've been talking about sauces a lot.
Yeah.
I like to think of myself as a sauce guy.
Okay.
What's one of your go-tos? Well, maybe an out of the box.
Oh man, so when we say out of the box, I find it's really cool to put like things that people are used to in interesting settings. And one of the things I think you may have tried at Boston Seafood Show was the malt vinegar reduction that we put with the Kraken, and that's one of my all-time favorite sauces. It's quite unexpected, I think. Pretty much everybody is, I think, familiar at least a little bit with malt vinegar and how well it goes on fried fish. And I'll admit it's not for everybody because it's pungent and it's got bite. When you reduce vinegar, it kind of takes a little bit of the bite off of it and kind of rounds it out. So what I like to do is I take a Mirin wine, I reduce it, I add a fair amount of sugar to thicken it up, and then I take a bunch of malt vinegar and reduce that down even further. So it's kind of got this like sticky, sweet kind of flavor profile. It sticks on the top of the fried fish very nicely without sogging it out, much like vinegar might do. But it kind of brings that, it's a classic taste, a classic flavor, but it's a completely new way of kind of presenting it. And that's a really good one.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a super cool one. And people respond to it, I think, is because they know what malt vinegar is. Oh, this is what my grandpa used to drown his fish in, right? I hated it. And they're like, oh, I used to make it smell. And it's like, all right, we'll try this. It's like mostly, it's pretty sweet. It's good stuff. And then like, wow, I had no idea that vinegar can do it. Like, oh, I can see what grandpa was up to, right? So yeah,
I had to hold myself back.
Yeah.
I would have eaten you guys. I would have eaten all the supply you had.
It's pretty good stuff. All right, so get some buns going in the top here. And about that time, probably looking ready to flip. Okay. A nicely toasted brioche bun.
Is brioche the way to go when it comes to
brioche? I feel like it's a huge trend too. Also, I feel like I see brioche everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a nice sweet bread. It's very soft, very pleasing. The opposite of that is pretzel roll, which I see a lot too, and I also like that. It's a bit denser, but I think that brioche has some very good qualities to it. It fits seafood very well. It has to do a lot with the bite. It's soft to bite through. I feel like pretzel roll is right for some things, but it's a little bit difficult for fish because you kind of get that squish factor, like a ciabatta or something like that.
Yeah.
It's almost more bite force to get through the bread as it is to get through the fish, so it kind of squishes out the sides. But something I've realized in the past. All right. So what we're going to do here, we've got our remoulade down. This is dill, stone ground mustard, a little bit of Old Bay, mayo, fresh grated garlic, and some horseradish. I'm going lettuce on top and bottom buns. We got our Wild Alaska Pollock burger patty right there. And some of our crab cake veg mix right there. Lemon Old Bay, olive oil, sweet onion, celery. And there you go. Simple as that.
So now we got the Pollock burger, the Pollock pizza, the Pollock tacos.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah. Again, we do a lot of work in the battered and breaded and fried fish category. That's kind of where my food scientists love to play, and that's there. And then I get to kind of show what they do. I feel like in this kind of In this non-breaded category, a lot of opportunity kind of exists to show things culinarily. In breaded and battered, there's always the kind of, okay, what's going to be a fish and chip plate, or it's going to be a fish taco, or it's going to be a sandwich, for sure. I mean, those are the easy ones to kind of get there. But there's a few things that are kind of unexpected in the non-breaded and non-battered space. We're just talking about whole muscle fish. That is fun to explore, especially with something that's as versatile as pollock. Yeah, thank you.
Chef Morgan.
Of course.
Thank you for showing us some new applications, some old, some new, some reinvented, I guess you could say.
Perfect, yeah, it's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Well, with Trident, I guess, just kind of closing out here, what do y'all have already that's kind of out there? I know we talked about the Kraken IPA, Wild Alaska Pollock fillets, but maybe if you can just give a little rundown on what you guys have.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think most our kind of public visibility items out there are available in Costco. We have our ultimate fish stick. We have our salmon burger, which is not Wild Alaska Pollock, but it's still our thing. And those are the things I think that we're most known for. Whenever I run into somebody on the street, one of my friends or whatever, what do you do for a living? It's very easy to explain to them kind of that avenue is something they can go pick up for themselves.
You know this?
Yeah, exactly. And pretty much I found out that most people know either what our fish sticks or our salmon burger are, even meeting random people. I met someone just the other day at we went to the restaurant show in Chicago, and I sat down next to a person. What do you do? And I kind of explained it, and they had like no idea what I was talking about. I was like, salmon burgers from Costco? And they're like, oh, totally. I get it. So like they know from that aspect. So for consumer facing stuff, it's that kind of thing. We have a lot of work in national accounts. We do a lot of the fish sandwiches out there that are available kind of during Lent season. So that's kind of what our biggest visibility is. Upcoming, we're continuing to sort of push that, expand our retail footprint quite a bit. And again, make sure our food service customers are always kind of happy and asking for more.
Yeah, I mean, we've worked with y'all in terms of food service for a couple of different things. Like I know, like we said, Climate Pledge Arena, as well as UBS Arena. But I mean, in general, it's always been a pleasant experience. And I guess we were talking a little bit off camera about this, but we did talk about doing this a little bit in Barcelona. So I'm glad it came in full circle. In terms of where Trident is kind of social footprint, I guess you could say. I know y'all have all the social channels, Trident Seafoods on all of those, so people can find you there. But in general, appreciate you kind of just showing me, what a day looks like when you're cooking Wild Alaska Pollock.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming by. It's nice to get folks in here and see it, and then show it kind of outwardly, right? You can only fit so many people in this room. It's a little hard to find out here on the court. So, getting more folks in to kind of see applications, what we can really do with the species, how we can take, block and turn into so many different products. We'll take kind of any outlet we can sort of get to make those things kind of happen. So
for sure.
Thank you for coming by. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank y'all for listening and or watching this time, because that's a new aspect of this that hasn't been here before. So yeah, awesome. Well, hope you have a good one.
See you next time.
See you next time. There it is.
Awesome.